The war in Iran has made us in the Energy Transition Outlook team reassess how we think about the energy transition. Program Director Sverre Alvik is here to discuss the impact of the conflict on the energy transition. So in terms of the energy transition, how significant is this war compared to other energy shocks that we've seen?
This is probably the biggest supply shock in history, and we have 20% of the oil and the gas going through the Strait of Hormuz every day in a normal day, and now it's almost just a little trickle. So this is a huge supply shock, and also the supply shock comes at a time where oil and gas still is very important in the global energy mix. If this were to happen in 10 years' time, many countries would be more resilient, but no, all countries are still very dependent on oil and gas. So this is a really severe shock for all countries in the world.
Yes, definitely. And would you say there are any learnings that we've ascertained from the conflict in Ukraine to help us forecast how this shock will impact the energy transition?
Yeah, I think there are many learnings we could have from the Ukraine war. One very simple learning is that a war typically could last much longer than we think. And of course, we don't know the outcome of this one. A second learning is that, and probably the most important takeaway from this, is that when oil and gas or fossil fuels are in a crunch, energy security will make you look for alternatives. And the main alternatives here being renewables, nuclear, batteries to power electric vehicle and help the grid, etc., are the main beneficiary, if you could use that word, from a war. Thirdly, I think we need to realize that not everything goes as smooth as you think. So when EU, after the Ukraine war, wanted to double down on renewables, it's not always that easy, and it might not be easy here. And fourthly, unfortunately, we tend to forget. So I think for Ukraine, Europe has, and now we're in a new crisis. Yes. So there are many learnings which are relevant, I think, from that war.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And would you say that these learnings are sort of contextual? How would you see how this supply shock affects transitions in Asia versus how it might affect the transition in Europe?
First, I think the main difference is between energy importing and energy exporting countries. And most of the Asian countries we hear talk of, like India and China, they are big energy importers. So is Europe. Europe's only getting a slight share of its gas from Middle East, and also not that much of the oil. But prices will be affected all around the world, so they will be heavily influenced by that. But what we see is the least developed countries, like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, etc., they probably suffer most because they cannot, in any circumstance, afford to pay for these double or triple or quadruple prices of natural gas and go back to alternative energy sources, whatever they are.
Yes, so we've spoken a little bit about the countries that might struggle from this supply shock. Where do you see some countries or regions in the world that might have the most opportunity from a shock like this?
Energy exporting countries in general, and then with the exception of the Gulf countries, which obviously are suffering, and the US partly, who's also paying a lot for the war. So it's, I think Russia in particular is a country that will see its rebate being removed to a large extent. They cannot increase volume, but they can increase the price they get for the oil and gas twofold, of two reasons, both due to the rebate being away and the general gas and oil price being higher. And then other energy exporting countries like Canada, like Norway, like Brazil, etc., will also typically, at least on a budget side, benefit from this, although the individual citizen might not feel it because they will have to pay at the pump.
Yes, and I think this is an important part of what's happening now in the Middle East. And we're seeing sort of a lot of reports coming from North America where consumers are really feeling the pinch of this war. How do you expect that these kind of reactions will impact energy and climate policy going forward? I know it's a big question to ask for North America, but...
Well, in North America, the big challenge for the Trump administration is that there is a midterm election in November,
Yes.
and we know that the pump price is very important for the consumer, and hence we see that popularity or the polls shows that this is not what the American voters want. And apart from that, we will see that policies, first and foremost, again, they double down on energy security, and energy security means alternatively sources of energy, like renewables, first and foremost, nuclear, batteries, coal in some countries, and one big winner of this, although they are an energy importer long term, is China, because China has already positioned itself for the clean tech energy and the production of solar and turbines and batteries, etc. And there will be a further drive to this, not only domestically in China, but also among its customers around the world.